Just as Adaku was about to set off on a nightly hunt, the group sprang into action. They surrounded her, holding up mirrors and torches, hoping to catch her off guard. But Adaku was prepared. With a snare, she launched at them, her claws clashing through the air. Echoes erupted. The villagers, hearing the commotion, rushed to the scene. They arrived just in time to see Adaku, now fully transformed, battling her attackers. For a moment, it seemed as though the demon might be overpowered. But then, with a burst of unnatural strength, she broke free, her form dissolving into a mist that disappeared into the night. The villagers were left shaking and terrified. They had seen the demon with their own eyes, but it had escaped. Ify and others were hailed as heroes, but they knew the fight was far from over. Adaku was still out there in the shadows, waiting for her next opportunity to strike. In the days that followed, the village of Onsu was gripped by fear and uncertainty. The elders implemented strict measurements to protect the villagers, including nightly coffins and patrol. Ify continued her vigilant watch, determined to find a way to end Adaku's reign of terror once and for all. One evening, Ify consulted with wise men from neighboring village. She discovered a possible solution. It was an old legend that spoke of a powerful ritual capable of binding a shapeshifter to their human form, rendering them powerless. The ritual required rare ingredients and the participation of the entire community, but it offered a glimmer of hope. If we presented our findings to the elders, this ritual is our best chance, she said. It will be dangerous, but we must all be united in our efforts. But if we succeed, we can end these nightmares forever. The elders agreed, and preparation began immediately. The villagers gathered the necessary ingredients, a rare herbs that grew only in the deepest part of the forest, the blood of a pure white goat, and a sacred stone from the river bed. They all constructed a large intricate circle in the village square, inscribed with protective symbols and incantations. On the night of the ritual, the entire village assembled in the square. The atmosphere was tense but resolute. Ify, Okeke, and a few others took their position around the circle, ready to perform the binding spell. As the moon rose, Adaku once again emerged from her hut. Drawn by the commotion, the villagers watched in horror as Adaku began to transform. Ify signaled, and the ritual began. The atmosphere cracked with energy as the village chanted in unison, their voices blending into a powerful resonant hum. Adaku's eyes flared with anger and fear as she realized what was happening. She tried to break free, but the protective circle held her at bay. Okeke stepped forward, holding the sacred stone aloft. By the power of the ancestors, we bind you, Adaku, to your true form. No longer shall you torment our village. No longer shall you bring death and despair. Adaku's demonic form withered and twisted within the circle, a scream echoing through the night. The villagers continued their chants, their determination unwavering. Ify, her eyes fixed on Adaku, recited the final incantations, pouring every pound of her strength into her words. A binding light erupted from the circle, and Adaku's form was engulfed in a purifying flame. The villagers shielded their eyes, their hearts pounding with anticipation. When the light finally subsided, they looked to see a figure lying motionless on the center of the circle. It was Adaku, but no longer in a demonic form. She lay there, her body still and lifeless, her once beautiful features now etched in pain and sorrow. The villagers approached cautiously, their fears mingled with relief. Okeke knelt beside her, his face a mask of sorrow. "It is done, it is done," he said quietly. "The demon is gone." The villagers were silent for a moment. Then a collective sigh of relief swept through the crowd. They had triumphed, But the cost had been high. They had lost a woman who had been their healer, their friend and protector, and they had also rid themselves of a terrible curse. In the days that followed, Unsu slowly began to heal. The villagers returned to his routine, but the memory of Adaku lingered like a shadow. Ife, now hailed as hero, continued her work, helping the village rebuild and move forward. She knew that the scars of the past would never fully fade, but she also knew that the strength and unity of the villagers would see them through. As the season changed and years passed, the story of Adaku became legend. Parents would tell their children of the brave midwife who had once saved lives by day and taken them by night. They spoke of the courage and determination of Ife and the villagers who had faced a demon and prevailed. But beneath the surface, the stories serve as a reminder of the duality within us, the capacity for both good and evil, for creation and destruction. And in the quiet moments, when the moon was high and the village was still, the people of Unsu would remember Adako and the lesson she had left behind. For Ife, the memory of the night remained vivid. She often visited the circle when the ritual had taken place, now overgrown with grass and flowers. It was a place of reflection, a reminder of the choices they had made and the strength they had found within themselves. One evening, as she stood there lost in thought, she felt a presence behind her. Turning, she saw Okeke, his face lined with age, but his eyes still sharp and wise. "You did well, Ife," he said. "You saved this village." Ife nodded, her eyes filled with both pride and sadness. "We all did, Okeke. We stood together and faced the darkness, and will continue to do so, as long as we remember who we are and what we are capable of." Okeke placed a hand on her shoulders, his grip firm and reassuring. "Indeed, and as long as we have people like you, this village will always find its way through the night." Together they stood in silence, watching as the stars began to appear in the evening sky, a testament to the enduring spirit of Unsu and the light that always followed even the darkest of nights. One day, many years later, a stranger arrived in Unsu. He was a traveler, an old man with a withered face and eyes that held many stories. The villagers welcomed him warmly. He shared tales from distant land and listened intently to the story of Unsu. It was during one such storytelling evening that the traveler heard of Adaku. After the story was told, he asked to speak to Ife. "Tell me more about this Adaku," he requested. "You speak of her with a mixture of reverence and sorrow. I have traveled far and heard many tales, but our own is unique." Ife, now an elder herself, nodded. Adaku was a complex soul. She brought life into this world with her hands and took it away with her curse. We never fully understood why she became what she did, but we knew that she was as much a victim as we were. The traveler listened intently, then spoke softly. "In my travel, I have learned that curses often come with hidden truth and unresolved spirits. Have you ever sought to uncover the root of her transformation?" Ify shook her head. "We focus on ending the immediate threats. Our diviners and priests could not find a clear answer. Adaku's past remained a mystery." The traveler pondered for a moment. "Sometimes the past leaves clue in the present. May I suggest something? A ritual of uncovering, one that might reveal the truth of Adaku's plague and bring our spirits and this village true peace." Intrigued and hopeful, Ify agreed. The village gathered once more, this time with a sense of curiosity rather than fear. The traveler explained that the ritual would involve restricting Adaku's steps, seeking out places of significance in her life, and communing with the spirits of the ancestors. The first place they visited was Adaku's old hut, now abandoned and overgrown. The traveler led the villagers in prayers, asking the ancestors to reveal what had been hidden. As they chanted, the atmosphere grew thick, and a faint whisper seemed to emerge from the wall. "Look there," the traveler said, pointing to the hidden compartment between the floorboard. Inside, they found an old journal, its page yellow with age. It was Adaku's diary. Ify carefully opened the journal and began to read aloud. The entries were filled with Adaku's thought and experience. She wrote of her deep love for the village, her joy in bringing new life to the world, but also her growing despair. She spoke of a darkness that had begun to consume her, a curse placed upon her by a jealous spirit from a neighboring village, whose own child had died during birth. The final entry revealed Adaku's desperation. She had sought help from various diviners and healers, but none could break the curse. She wrote of her fear of harming those she loved, and the attempt to end her own life to protect them, but only to be thwarted by the very curse that bound her. As Ify finished reading, tears streamed down her face. The villagers were silent, their hearts heavy with the newfound understanding. Adaku had been a victim, a woman trying to fight an unimaginable evil within herself. The traveler spoke gently. Now that you know the truth, you can perform the final ritual to free her spirit. It requires forgiveness and the light of your collective love. The village agreed, their sorrow turning to resolve. They gathered once more in the village square, surrounding the circle where the binding ritual had taken place. This time, their chants were not of binding, but of release and forgiveness. As the moon rose, they called upon Adaku's spirit. The atmosphere shimmered, and a ghostly figure appeared in the center of the circle. It was Adaku, her eyes no longer filled with malice, but with gratitude and peace. Thank you, she whispered, her voice echoing through the circle. Thank you for understanding, for freeing me. With those words, Adaku's spirit began to dissolve into the night, her form becoming one with the stars. The villagers watched in amazement, knowing that they had not only ended the curse but also brought peace to the tormented soul. Ify, feeling a profound sense of closure, turned to the traveler. We are forever grateful to you, sir. You have given us more than you can imagine. The traveler smiled. The true strength of a village lies in its ability to confront the past and move forward with compassion. The traveler departed, leaving Unsu to his newfound peace. The village, now fully free from the shadows of its past, continued to grow and prosper, and in the hearts of Ify and the villagers, the story of Adaku lived on, not as a tale of horror, but as a testament to the power of understanding, forgiveness, and unity. The nights in Unsu were no longer haunted. Instead, they were filled with the sound of laughter, the rustling of the trees, and the song of the ancestors, guiding the village forward into a future of hope and light. Years passed, and Unsu's story began to evolve. Ify, now an elder of the village, watched as new generation grew up free from the fear that once gripped their community. She shared the story of Adaku, not just as a cautionary tale, but as a lesson in compassion and the importance of understanding one's struggle. One evening, as Ify sat by the fire surrounded by young children, eager for stories, she felt a presence beside her. It was Amara, a granddaughter who had shown a keen interest in the village history and tradition. Grandma, Amara said softly, tell me more about Adaku. I want to understand how someone so good could be overtaken by such darkness. Ify smiled and nodded, gesturing for the children to gather closely. Adaku's story is one of tragedy and redemption. It reminds us that everyone carries their own burden, and that sometimes even the strongest among us need help. She began to recount the tale once more, but this time, she included the newfound understanding they had gained from Adaku's journal. The children listened with wide eyes, their expressions shifting from fear to empathy, as they learnt about the cause and Adaku's struggle. As Ify spoke, Amara's mind raced with questions and ideas. She had always felt a connection to the story of old, and now she felt a newfound purpose taking root within her. After the story ended, she approached her grandma privately. Grandma, I want to learn more about our ancestors and the spirits. I want to ensure that no one else in our village ever have to suffer like Adaku did. Your heart is in the right place, Amara. To understand the spirit and our ancestors, you must study both our history and the spiritual practice that had guided our people for generations. It will not be easy, but I believe you have the strength and wisdom to do it. Thank you for watching. See you on my next video. Bye.